Tired, bro?
Yeah.
All that travel?
I'm getting over the travel. It kind of took a lot out of me for a while.
I bet.
Yeah.
How long of a flight is it to Abu Dhabi?
Well, they made us fly from Toronto to Vegas first, which is the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And then we had to get the COVID test in Vegas, quarantine for 24 hours, and then head to and then fly to Abu Dhabi, get quarantine or get tested. I had to pass 2 tests, and so we were quarantined for 48 hours, and then before they'd even let us out of the rooms, really.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Welcome to Studio 88. Today, my special guest, Sam Hands of Stone Stout. If you've been living under a rock for the last fucking 15 years, you're probably even longer. Sam is an OG veteran of UFC. He's kind of a local celebrity for us here. You kind of set the pace for Canadian athletes. And I'm honored to have you on.
My pleasure to be here.
Now, you just got back from Fight Island.
Yeah, got back 14 days ago.
Okay, so you're fresh off. This is your first.
Yeah, I was had to do the self-isolation for 2 weeks, so this is my first day of freedom.
And you were down there cornering Malcolm Gordon.
That's right.
And you're with Joseph Valentini.
Valtellini.
Valtellini,
yeah.
Valtellini.
Yeah, that guy's pretty impressive. That was the first time we had met, actually. He's doing some pretty awesome things when it comes to, and I can appreciate a good striker, and this guy, he knows his stuff.
No shit, yeah. I remember seeing him in a Muay Thai fight in Stratford back in
the
2007 or 2006 or something like that.
Yeah, dude's a badass.
And when he came out, he had a giant blue robe on. And I was like, and I remember he was the main event for, it was a card inside a gymnasium.
Oh, yeah?
Or no, not a gymnasium. It was like a small hockey arena. And the boxing ring, but it was Muay Thai. And I was there to support a friend of mine who had been fighting out of Siam Thai in Scarborough.
Siam number 1 there?
Siam number 1.
Yeah.
So Enzo, his name's Enzo. And I was there to watch him fight, and that's the first time I seen Joseph. And I was like, who's that guy? And when he came out, he had an aura to him. There was something about him that he was very like, you're like, this guy, he's very handsome, very like, he just was, and his fight was just, he was fantastic.
We spoke about that a lot. I mean, we had tons of time just sitting around shooting the shit, and we hit it off right away. But we were watching, each other's old fights and kind of going over the thought process. And he was telling me, he's like, you look at the guys he was fighting when he went to, especially like the glory fights, he's fighting guys that had fought, 106 fights in Thailand and all over the world. And he's, came in with a very small record compared to these guys. And he just said it was just a mentality thing. He just knew he was going to go out and beat him. Like he just never... I mean, I wish I would have had that mentality where he said the nerves never really got to him. He just was so confident in himself that he just went out and wrecked people.
What, nerves never got to you?
Oh, nerves got to me.
Really? You would never think that? When
I mean, they went away. They went away when I got in there, but I wasn't walking out there ultra confident for the most part. I mean, there were certain fights where I walked out and I'm feeling better than others. But there's always those doubts in the back of your mind.
Really? I never would have. Dude,
sure. It's a nerve-wracking experience.
I bet. But
I had a good poker face, man.
Yeah, fucking right you did. Let's go back in a little bit of history on you. How did you start? I mean, you've been doing this since, like, when you were fighting in the UFC, guys didn't even know anything about MMA.
Yeah.
And you were doing this on TKO back in the day.
Yeah, we were, we were doing kickboxing. I started off with training with Sean Tompkins in 2000, just 1999, December of 1999, like right before.
How old were you?
16.
Jesus.
Yeah, and I hadn't done any. I mean, I did a little bit of martial arts when I was a kid with Bernardo karate and stuff like that, but it never really. I kind of did that as a really young kid. Not something I, really carried into my MMA career, but. Yeah, and then I started training with Sean, and he kind of built me from the ground up, really. And
how did you meet Sean?
He started dating my sister, actually.
Just like that. So it wasn't like he started training first, and then
didn't go.
Wow.
It was, which is, and what makes it even more of a coincidence is, he was just starting to train guys at John Marshall's Family Karate there on Warrencliffe, and that's where Chris Wardesky was. I don't know if he was a brown belt or a black belt at the time. But he was 13. No, wait, he was even younger than that. 13 maybe. And Hominick just had had competed in the in pancrase quite a bit and had traveled to Greece for the worlds in pancrase, and already had a lot of MMA experience. Basically, pancrase and MMA aren't too far off from each other. So the three of us all and we all just started training with Sean right at the same time. Like we all met him within a month of each other. So that it was almost like it was meant to be that the four of us just kind of all got together just right at the same time. And so we did kickboxing fights anywhere. Sean was just trying to get us as many fights as we could. So we'd travel all over the Midwest, drive to anywhere we could find a fight, we were going. So we'd all just pack a bunch of stinky dudes in a van.
I've heard the stories.
Yeah. So that's how it started. And then Sean was a big MMA fan. We all used to get together and watch the old Pride events, all the UFCs. That's when there was, much fewer events. It was a lot. So it was like boys' night every time there was a fight. We go over to Sean's apartment, crack a few beers, watch the fights. It was a ritual that we never missed. At that time, I had seen every single UFC fight, right? I knew who everyone on the roster was by name, by record, all that stuff. And now it's so hard to keep up with, right? There's there's 500 guys or something.
Yeah,
so
they have a huge roster
it's
now.
It's crazy, the roster now. So yeah, that's how we got into it. And Sean, we were all big MMA fans. And then Mark got his title fight in TKO. So I got into MMA just by being a training partner for Mark. And then we just saw we hadn't fought at all these kickboxing shows we fought in were like in gymnasiums and hockey arenas and, wherever, in bars and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden we get an opportunity to fight on an event like TKO where the production value was, head and shoulders above anything else we had done. So that's kind of how, it was such an opportunity for us to fight on these big stages like that. So that's why we all kind of made the move and kind of started veering towards MMA. And the fact that the Ultimate Fighter show it hadn't started yet. But MMA was really starting to grow, right? The UFC was starting to pick up speed, and we just kind of ended up getting in on the ground floor.
Interesting. Where were you when you first got your UFC call?
Where was I for that one? I got, it's funny. I got a few calls before. There was like some, there was like some whisper, like kind of Sean was in talks with them, but he actually didn't tell me until they had said, okay, if Sam wins this next title defense, I can't remember which one it was. There's so many. There's so many title defenses on that TK. I'm just kidding. But yeah, he didn't want to tell me that before the fight and put extra pressure on me. But I came back to the locker room after, and he was like, "Dude, you did it. You're in the UFC now. Next fight's in the UFC." And I was just like,
"That's crazy."
So definitely added to the excitement of that night, winning, defending my title successfully, and then also getting. Letting Sean telling me that I was getting my next fight was going to be in the UFC.
Yeah. How old were you then?
21.
Jeez, just a baby.
Yeah, somebody just actually tagged me in something on Instagram that I was the fourth youngest. I was the fourth youngest person to ever headline a UFC event.
Was that versus Spencer Fisher?
No, it wasn't. I did. I headlined that one just after.
Okay.
But I headlined the loss to Kenny Florian was actually the. It was
that's
before
right.
that. Yeah, it was
that's
on
right.
It was on the Ultimate Fighter season 2 finale, the one where Bisping won it and Kendall Grove won it.
That's
so
crazy.
I was the main event for that one. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Do you still get the itch after coming back from Abu Dhabi?
I do. Like, you know what? It's funny you say that. That that was my first UFC fight week really since I retired. Right. I hadn't traveled with a fighter and spent the week in the hotel I was sitting on the sidelines watching Malcolm do it, but being back in that atmosphere, hanging out with seeing those old familiar faces, a lot of the UFC staff that I worked with is still working there, and then seeing Joe Benavidez, who's been a great friend of mine for a long time, and Uriah Faber and Mike Bisping and Paul Felder and all those guys, like the old school guys. It was fun to reconnect with all them, and to see all that stuff. I mean, I'm not actually thinking about getting back in there, but it did give me the itch. No, I wouldn't go back. Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's just, the risk versus reward thing right now is just, I mean, back if I hadn't lost my last couple fights the way I did, I would definitely think about going back. But, I got a kid. I'm getting up there in age, right? These guys are young, they're killers. And it's not worth risking my health for 30, as little as 35 grand if I'm taking a loss, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I was up to by the end.
Yeah. You got a lot of fight of the night bonuses too.
I did, but that was in the time where I could stand there and trade punches for 15 minutes, and then the end of my career, it was like I got hit on the button, and in the early in my career, I had a cast iron jaw. You couldn't, a lot of people.
That's what you were really known for.
Should have called me Chinastone. Right?
Yeah. Everybody always said that you can't knock Sam out.
But then when it happened, KJ Newens caught me with an overhand right I didn't see coming, and after that, I was never quite the same. So. Don't want to risk your health.
Yeah.
It's not.
But now you have a flourishing gym.
Yep. And, my career allowed me to, I was towards the end of my career, maybe not so much in the beginning, but I started putting money away and saving and, did some smart things with it, bought a house, invested in the gym, kind of put some money away in investments and whatnot. So that, and building my name and my brand as a fighter obviously helped with the success of Adrenaline now.
How's the gym been since this COVID shit?
It's weird, man. I haven't been there since we opened because I've been on this quarantine. I'm back. I'm starting back on Tuesday once when we open, or after the holiday. It's a strange time. Most of what we do is, and in every gym, it's like doing training MMA without any real contact is, it's maintenance for these guys. And there's some plus sides to it. We've been doing our online stuff, and it's like, a lot of shadow boxing, a lot of conditioning, stuff like that. But I've been telling the guys to, see it as a blessing because, you're able to take some time off and let your body heal. And everyone else is doing the same thing. So, because a lot of these guys get it in their head that it's like, well, if I'm not training, and the successful people think this way. It's like, well, if I'm being lazy right now, I know my next opponent's still training right now. That's like you have to keep that mentality. But if everyone's forced to take time off, then it's like it gives you an opportunity to just kind of let your body heal up a little bit. Work on your mobility, work on some things that you might not have had time to do if you were just in the gym grinding. Yeah, and that's I really think a lot of guys' careers, some of them end early because of head injuries. Some of them end early because guys beat their bodies up way too much.
You guys were notoriously known for beating the shit out of each other in training.
Yeah,
is that still the same practice now?
It's not. No, it's not to the same extent as back in the day. I remember we used to. We used to go do our camps in Vegas, and we'd do like a Shark Tank. So for those of you guys who don't know what a Shark Tank is, it's like one guy stands in the middle of the ring, four guys usually in the corners, usually four guys or five guys that are all standing on the outside, and you get a fresh guy every minute. And we would do. You
guys invented that, didn't you? Didn't Sean invent that?
I never heard.
I like to think
before.
he did because I always heard that it was a Sean Tompkins thing.
Yeah, that was a big Sean Tompkins thing, and it was miserable. And we used to do that in Vegas where it was like, it'd be, like me, Hominick, or Hordasky. Usually it was only one or two of us in the camp, but like the other guys in that gym, and this is just lightweights. We'd have Gray Maynard, Tyson Griffin, Mac Danzig, and a bunch of other up and coming killers. And then we'd have guys like, there'd be guys that would pop in. Josh Thompson would pop in sometimes, like some real killers. And like you'd have to get a fresh one on you every minute. These are like guys that were, Gray fought for the title. Tyson was a top 10 guy for most of his career. It was like, it was a hard 15 minutes being in there. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So then the training is not as hard as it is now. Like, do you think that?
That was when we were doing UFC camps and we were training in Vegas, where there was such a huge pool of guys. We still work hard. Don't get me wrong. Like, and I'm sitting. I'm on the coaching side of things more, but I still get in there and bang it out a little bit. But I'm not putting myself through that kind of shit anymore. No way.
Well, you're dad now. That's a big.
I'm at a different time in my life, man. I'm only 36, which doesn't seem that old in the sport. But when you start when you're 21, I always say it's not necessarily about how old you are. It's the mileage that you put on your body, right? So I got a lot of miles on me.
Yeah, because I would love to see you back in there. At least just one more time. Just for our own selfishness, right?
The money would have to be right for me to get back in there.
Hell yeah. That's insane. The so Vegas, you did all your camps in Vegas?
Not all of them. I mean,
good majority.
In the later years, because Sean moved there. Oh shoot, I can't remember what year it was when he moved there, but shortly after we got into it, we started fighting in the UFC. He realized that training with, just training with the three of us and the other guys, and there was, not like it was just the three of us, me, Mark, and Chris. There was some other very good guys, but he realized he had to widen our pool, especially because we all kind of fought the same. It's like you need wrestlers, you need good good jiu-jitsu guys, you need different training partners, different looks all the time, because that's what it's going to be like in a fight. If I just train with the guys who kind of fought with the same style as me, all we'd do is try and strike with each other all the time, right? We never get those good looks of, guys like Gray who are D1 wrestlers and whatnot. So, Sean made the move to Vegas, and it wasn't only for us. It was Sean. Sean.
He went to Tap Out Center, right?
He originally went to Randy Couture's gym, the Extreme Couture.
Okay.
That was the original Extreme Couture in Vegas, and Randy hired him as his head coach. Actually, before that, Dan Henderson hired him as his coach out in Temecula, and he kind of had a personality clash with a few of the other. Other guys there. So that one wasn't really a great fit. And then things in Vegas were great at Randy's gym for quite a while. We did a couple years there. And then around 2010 or 2010, I believe. There was just that was a great gym, but there was a lot of guys that were already really well-established guys that already had their own way of doing it. And then, so they started bringing in their own coaches, and Sean wasn't a guy who liked to, he liked to be the guy. He liked to be, everyone to know he was in charge of the workouts. He was in charge of training. He liked to oversee things, and it worked out great for me that way, but some of the guys didn't, wanted to get some of their own stuff or whatever. So that didn't really last forever. And then, so that's when he went to Tap Out, and we had a younger team there, a lot of up and coming guys, not as many established guys, but that was great. That was what Sean wanted. He wanted to build guys his way and not necessarily.
Well, he had a great formula.
He did. And, he was never, there was some stuff that he couldn't, like he brought in assistant coaches for like jiu-jitsu coaches, wrestling coaches. He was good about his ego wasn't too big in that sense. But he was still the one that everyone was answering to, and that's kind of more what he was, what he wanted and what he needed to thrive as a coach, I think.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. I know when after he had passed away, you guys never seemed the same.
No, that really took the wind out of ourselves.
For sure. Yeah.
Mark was coming off, I believe, the Aldo fight.
Yep.
Which was, even despite the fact that it was a lawsuit, Mark was the first guy to show a chink in Aldo's armor. And that was when Aldo was unbeatable, or seemed unbeatable. And then I was coming off the Yves Edwards win. So is
that your favorite win to date?
I think the Joe Lauzon fight is still my favorite win.
Yeah.
The Yves Edwards fight was obviously my best highlight in the UFC, but the best I ever felt going in was against Lauzon. And, that was the most fun fight I ever had, I think, because I was just whooping his ass. And I felt like it felt good to, just be able to go out there and do what I want and not feel like he just didn't have an answer for me on that night. And I respect Joe Lauzon a ton. I was a big underdog going into that fight. It was just something in the air for me that night where I just had it that night. So that is still my favorite fight.
Any rituals? Fight rituals?
You know what? I used to have a bunch, and then it was just like it starts to become a hindrance, right? Like where you have so many things and you're like, well, and then you do things that weren't necessarily a ritual, but you're like, oh, I did it this time and I won, so I got to do that again next time, right? And then they start to pile up and pile up and pile up. So I basically dumped all those rituals and just said, you know what, this time I'm going in, I'm not going to do any of those things. The only thing I always did was I'd always eat fresh pineapple before the day of the morning of, like, with breakfast. I'd order, like, you know, I'd always have fresh fruit. I'd always make sure if it didn't have pineapple in it, I'd go to the store and get a pineapple.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. Does it really, did it make a difference? No.
Maybe it did.
No.
You never know. Yeah.
Yeah. I think early in my career, I think it was Alex Gasson actually that was said it was the highest amount of carbohydrates in any fruit. Knowing Pecker? You know Pecker.
Yeah.
Knowing Pecker, he could have been making that up. But he told me that, and it was just like we both ate a bunch of pineapple. We were both fighting on the same card, and then it's just something I picked up. Yeah. And I'm like, well, when I dumped all the rituals, I'm like, oh, I got to keep one. So that was the one I kept.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I remember I was talking to you in Windsor at the last Windsor show, and you were saying, I said, how often do you guys fight? You guys are every weekend. Is that for real?
Back in those days? I mean, not every single weekend, but
almost every weekend.
mean, we were, if we could get, it was more like every other weekend, like two, 3 times. Like we do up to 3 a month. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a lot. We were doing a lot of fights.
That's insane. You ever fight anybody kickboxing that went on to UFC like yourself?
Let's see. Shoot, man. I don't think so.
No.
I'm trying to think. It's hard for me to think off the top of my head of everyone. Shoot. No, I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Because that'd be cool just to hear.
Yeah.
Like, I fought this guy kickboxing and then he went on the UFC.
No, I don't think so. No. I've never really put too much. It's hard to so many fights to go through in my head and try and.
How many kickboxing matches you got?
You know what? I was just telling somebody the other day. I don't know how many kickboxing fights I had.
Really?
So the reason for that is because we were just trying to stay so active that Sean would lie about our records all the time, right? So if it's like, okay, this guy has 15 more fights than me, and the commission won't let it happen, then we just lie and say I had, to bridge the gap.
Yeah.
So I mean, my record, we said I had a different record every weekend, so I just lost track, and I never. It's one of the things I regret not like keeping a journal of all my fights, how they ended, who the guys were. But I have no idea how many fights. I would ballpark it around 50 amateur kickboxing fights. Probably more. Like we did the amateur circuit for, 2000, and I went pro in 2000 for like 5 years. Mm-hmm. So, and we were doing it. No, so probably more than that. Shit. I mean, we were doing probably, I want to say close to 15, 20 fights a year. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of fights.
Yeah. So by 4 or 5 years, it's probably closer to 70 actually.
Jeez.
Yeah, we did a lot, man.
That's why you always seem so composed.
I mean, yeah, it was like you learn how to deal with. I was telling you earlier, I got a lot of nerves, or had a lot of nerves. That's on a big stage too. I mean, back in the younger days, and I was just like I was, and those nerves went away as soon as I got in. It was more when the nerves came when there started being a lot more on the line. Like if you lose an amateur kickboxing fight, who cares? You live to fight another day. It's like whatever. But once you got your paychecks on the line, you put a little, and there's 20,000 people in attendance, and then 1 million people watching on TV. That's when it gets a little tougher because you come home after a loss and you're going to hear about it, and you come home after a win, you're the king. Come home after the loss, you're everyone's patting you on the back, feeling sorry for you, right?
Yeah. Is that a lot of pressure for a 21-year-old? Did that change you at all in any way? Being in the spotlight like that?
It did and it didn't. I think the fact that I was so young, it didn't really dawn on me. Mm-hmm. At that time, I was still just fighting, having fun. It's just like when you're young like that, you just never see it. You don't see the big picture yet. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of like, just going to go out there and do it. But I mean, it definitely changed me. I probably my head got a little bigger. I got a little cockier. I don't know if it changed me for the better back in those younger days, but I mean, I was always, not that I got turned into a dick and anything like that. I just, I like to think I kept a pretty good head on my shoulders, but yeah.
For sure you did.
I was definitely, it's a little cocky in the younger days.
So you got this Adrenaline Training Center.
Yeah.
It's great reputation, ton of good guys. Who's the next big thing out of that gym?
Gord Cunningham, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah,
he was my 205 kickboxing champion.
Yeah, I think we need to put him down at 185 for the time being while he's young. Maybe he'll move up to a natural 205.
He's a big dude too.
He's a big dude.
I see him all the time at Metro.
Yeah.
All the time. And he's like, hey boss. And I'm like, Yeah. I'm like, hey, and I look, he towers over me.
Yeah. We got him going out to Montreal to fight
in August.
Next weekend.
Yeah.
Next on the 8th.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do a little Yeah. So he's gonna hasn't been as active as I would like. Nobody has, right? So he's been chomping at the bit to get back in there, keep his win streak going. The guy's a killer. He's just got, he's got something you can't teach, and he's just got that killer instinct. Like he's one of those guys
the most devastating leg kicks.
He'll get. Oh man. Well, he's just so he's just got the perfect body type for 185 or even 205. He's big. Young. He's tall. He's strong. He's got a lot going for him, and he's young. So. Yeah, the sky's the limit for that kid. He's got a good work ethic. He just wants to be in there fighting. So, I think he's got a bright.
And he's
future.
a good person. He has a good personality too.
Really great.
Like very nice, very kind,
very respectful, very hardworking. He's got all the tools. Yeah. He's got all the tools. Yeah, you have a good chin. Holy, the last time he fought on that Montreal Fight League, I was like, we haven't really seen him get really tested. Like he's been, took a few shots with 10-ounce gloves and kickboxing, and but he got hit with an overhand right that from hell, and and walked right through it. Just kept fighting, didn't even phase him. So I was like, that's when I really that's the last test. Like you can have all the tools in the toolbox. You can be big, you can be strong, you can be tall, you can have, which he obviously has. And that drive to fight, but if you can't take a punch, you ain't going too far. And he got hit with, one from one for a real, like one that would have knocked out 9 out of 10 people. Wow. And he just kept coming. So that was the final piece of the puzzle. I think he's got a real bright future.
Who else you got there?
We got some even younger guys. I think Gord's our main guy who's ready to go pro soon. Let's see.
We got Matty Havorka.
Matty Havorka and Gino. Yeah, Matty, he's letting his shoulder heal up, but that last fight he had, he was basically fighting with one arm, and he just, hit that overhand, that right hand from hell, and then finished he had been in that whole camp, his shoulder popped out of socket, like I don't know, he chipped off a piece of his shoulder socket. So it was, a ball and socket joint. So his humerus was just coming out of his shoulder socket. Like his whole arm just would drop, like doing pads, grappling. It just kept happening. And I was like, oh, damn, if this fight goes into deep waters, there's a good chance it's going to end with the shoulder popping
really
out.
Fast, though.
He ended it in like 20 seconds. Yeah. I don't know. I can't remember.
It was quick.
Very fast. And then the right elbows, but he did it with one hand.
Yeah.
So, if somebody who can go out there and finish a fight one-handed, like literally he could have tied his arm behind his back in that one. So he's got a bright future. It's good to see him. He got his surgery on his shoulder, so he's been on hiatus for a while, but he's back. I got a kid, Brandon Sutton, that's been fighting kickboxing fights. He needs to he's really talented. He's kind of like a Sam Stout 2.0. We just got to get a little more grit on him. His striking style, I've trained him since he was a kid. So he's really like a carbon copy of me, but he moves his head a little better. He doesn't take as much abuse as me. So once he gets a few more fights under his belt and gets a little more comfortable in the ring, he's got a real bright future. I'm not.
We got Ronson. You're just coming off a great win. How come he didn't stay? I'm surprised they didn't just to corner him. Yeah,
that would have been another. I thought the thought crossed my mind, but it was another full week there, and then another that starts my. I got a wife and kid. I already had to go 3 weeks without seeing my daughter. I had to come home and do 14-day quarantine. It was 10 days. 10 days, a 10-day trip because Abu Dhabi they make you go a little bit further out. Was it 10 days? I don't know, something like that. Or 9 days.
Did you guys race cars when you were there? I know, all over the place. How was that?
So we weren't driving obviously, but because these were fucking fast cars. Like yeah, so we went out and Abu Dhabi was crazy. Like, and that was with only a couple square miles that we had like a quarantine zone there, but they had an F1 practice track that like I looked out went out on my hotel balcony and there's like F1 cars. Yeah, it was wild. So that was just like a thing they did for the people in the quarantine zone. Like you could pay and do a couple laps, and it was crazy, man.
No shit. Yeah, because I saw you, Bazooka Joe, and Malcolm all geared up.
Yeah, we took it out.
Seriously, I was like, no shit. You guys are driving these fast cars.
It was fun, dude. Yeah.
Wow, that's insane.
I'm not a huge car guy, but Malcolm and Joe wanted to do it. I'm like, oh, well, I'm not gonna. This is kind of a once in a lifetime thing. There was an Aston Martin there that they said this is the only place in the world you'd be able to go out in this car.
Really?
Yeah, it was badass. I didn't go out. Malcolm went in that. Oh no, wait, none of us went in that one. We went in an older one. I can't even remember. I told you I'm not a car guy, but it was like a little higher center of gravity. So when he was taking corners, we were drifting around the corners. It was wild, man. Yeah, it was cool. It was a fun experience.
Was Fight Island what you expected?
It was, yeah. I mean, I didn't know what to expect. We got there. So we got there. First 2 days were quarantined to the room, but we got there the night of the. We got there. What fight was it? I'm trying to remember. The Masvidal fight, and which I was disappointed in. I wanted to see Masvidal take that title. But
everybody did, I think.
Side note. And then, we spent the first 2 days in the room. But once we got out, it was very cool. We had beach access where that octagon, that outdoor octagon was. It was way too hot to work out, and that thing was strictly for photo ops. It was
I bet.
I mean, it didn't have a canvas down on it. It was just plywood painted and stuff. But it was hotter than hell and that kind of like.
Because I think that's what people envision. I think when you say Fight Island, you were fighting outside.
No. It would have been like it was 90 degrees at night when the sun was down. It was so hot. It was 115 Fahrenheit, so it's like 50 degrees Celsius with 70% humidity. Like it was insane how hot it was.
Because I've been to Vegas where it was like 114 degrees.
Yeah, but it's dry heat.
Yeah.
This is like.
So you get soaked as you go.
When we were cutting weight, when Malcolm was cutting weight, we just opened the balcony door, start hitting pads, and they had workout rooms set up for us in the hotel. Like they gave us, after we were done the first 2 days of quarantine, they gave us a room with some mats in it, and we just opened the sliding door. And within minutes, the windows all like the mirrors would be fogging up, and like it was so hot there, man. It was crazy. Wow. So, it was wild.
Because I saw Malcolm posted. He said, "Everywhere is hot here."
Yeah, he said, the whole country's a sauna. The whole
that's what
all of Abu Dhabi's a sauna. It really was. It was crazy.
What about fight night inside the arena?
It was a closed arena, and they had climate control, air conditioning.
How big was the arena?
It was
compared to like a soccer dome.
Yeah, it would be like an. It's
kind of what
it wasn't a huge place. It was like a soccer dome. It was like one of those inflatable. Like they got out in East London there. It was like that.
Yeah.
Like that was the BMO Center or whatever it is. It was like maybe even a little smaller than that. It was.
But the same thing, all the bells and whistles.
Yeah. Well, it was, except for they had us in individual workout rooms, matted floors, and then one person at a time, or maybe two people at a time. We had one guy warming up when we first got in, and they had us on kind of separate sides of the room, more than 6 feet apart. But then as soon as we were done, we weren't allowed to stay and watch the rest of the fights. They rushed us. They rushed us out of there back to the hotel, and we had to go back to because they were taking that stuff seriously, with all the social distancing stuff.
Yeah, I guess you have to.
We got tested 6 times while we were there on the trip.
Wow.
I
did the test with Faisal. Faisal gave me the test on the one podcast.
You do it up the nose?
Oh, yeah. Oh, and
they gave us an option to do it in like our throats.
Yeah.
Which was much better. We tried it up the nose just to say we did it, but it was not.
Yeah, Faisal, he buried it into my head.
It feels like they touch your brain with it.
Whoa, that's insane. And I didn't realize that the virus lived in your nasal cavity. All viruses, flu, everything.
So they can go through your throat too, because your nose, throat, it's all connected, right? Yeah.
Yeah, this whole virus thing's fucked up.
If you ever have to do it again and you get the option, definitely do the
throat. Yeah, probably. I'll never do it again.
I mean, you might gag a little bit. I don't know if you got a gag reflex.
That's what Faisal said to me. He goes, it depends on how your gag reflex is.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
How'd you meet Faisal? Faisal's been in your life.
Faisal's been, Faisal was, has been a martial artist for a long time. He was, I think that he was at a point, he was pretty overweight, and martial arts is what kind of saved his life in a lot of ways. So he's a huge part of the gym. He's a great guy. Obviously, you know him as well as, probably as well as me now with all the stuff the work you guys have done together. But he just started training. Like, I think he's the type of guy who just wants to work out all the time. So he just ended up at Adrenaline, and he's been a huge help to us. Like during my fighting days, he was, always great for getting us, helping us with medicals. He's a guy that you can call him anytime you need him, and he's there for you. He's just a stand-up guy, and he just loves the sport. So
yeah, we're supposed to do September 26th at Bud Gardens.
Oh, nice.
And we canceled it.
Oh, you got pushed
because
back?
it was like,
they're probably
we can't do fights without a crowd. Like we're not in that position.
Oh, is that what they're saying? You can do
you could do it. Well, the commission's not even back at work.
Oh, okay.
So when I talked to the commission a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it's better to just wait it out.
Might as well.
It is do a watered down version of what we do, right?
Well, you need big money, man. Like the UFC can do it because they're billionaires.
Yeah.
It's easy to pull off an Abu Dhabi.
I mean, you got TV deals. And I believe that it wasn't all coming to the UFC's pockets.
Probably
not. The big oil
princes
money guys, the princes and the sheiks, and
fuck yeah,
they were putting up a lot of the cash, I believe. So
that's smart. Well, he said he's gonna stay in Abu Dhabi. He's like if this doesn't happen, doesn't matter. We're staying in Fight Island.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It was a cool experience, man. I really enjoyed it.
Well, I'm happy to see you a part of that because you're such a veteran for us, and we see, you're kind of the when we think UFC Canada, we think GSP, Muhammad Sam Stout, Patrick Cote, David Lauzon. Like there's all these names that you throw out that
there was a
the
time
pioneers
where
of the sport.
We were kind of not the first guys from Canada, but we were definitely early. There was one or two guys that fought, the Carlos Newtons and
Gary Goodridge
and Gary Goodrich, and there was a couple of really old school guys from the early days, one or two, I can't remember.
I guess more for our time.
Yeah.
When things blew up for us.
Yeah. For sure that we were kind of leading the way for a lot of people. Yeah.
Say that confidently. You can, Would you do anything different if you had your time back?
I would have saved more money when I first got started. I felt like, I celebrated a little too hard after some of the fights, and I would have got. I mean, this was kind of a blessing and a curse for me. Like I like to think, for me, it was always I wanted to have fun doing it. I had to have fun in the fight, have fun in the training camps, and then have a lot of fun after, right? So, but I mean that I think sometimes my after party would go on a little too long, but that gave me the chance to heal up a little better. So my career, my body, I mean, I'm retired now, but my body's still in pretty damn good shape. Like I don't have any like nagging chronic injuries. I mean,
well, you guys kind of all got out of it at a time where your brain health is very, very important.
I mean, that was the thing for all
you're still
of us.
Together, your brain, you're not punch drunk.
I mean, it was really at the early stages of CTE and those type of things. Not those type of things. That thing coming to light, right? Sidney Crosby was put on the the IR for a year, and then there was that doctor that they made the Will Smith movie out of it. That movie scared the shit out of me.
I bet.
That was a big reason that I retired watching that. It was like a biopic about the doctor who discovered CTE. And it's like, wait a minute. So you're saying there's this stuff that, and I mean, I every time I got some issues that I'm not sure if are, every time you forget someone's name, you're like, is this because I got hit in the head for 15 years straight? Is this because...
Yeah, but you also know a lot of people.
Yeah, of course. Yes,
right?
of course. That's an example. But I mean, Yeah, I think I definitely think it had an effect on me in the long term. You know, I definitely think I would be, you know, I probably would be slightly different if I hadn't taken all the shots to the head. I mean, would I trade it? No, I would still do my, you know, I wouldn't say, nah, I never should have done. I would never say that. It gave me so much more than it took away. But I'm not saying that it also had, you know, you got to take the positives with the negatives. It definitely had some negative effects on on me for sure.
Now, with your daughter,
Yeah.
I see her hitting mitts. I see her hitting things. Now, if she wanted to fight, how would you approach that?
I don't think my daughter's gonna be a fighter. She's too much of a girly girl, you know. She loves princesses and unicorns. That might change in time, and I would probably steer her away from it. That being said, if she really wanted to do it, I would let her. I mean, I would let her, and but I'd make sure she goes into it with her eyes open.
Because that's always a question I ask fighters. I say, you know, like if you got kids, like how would that, you know, going down the same path that you went, and you see all the behind the scenes, and you see the damage that can be done to people, and I'm sure you know somebody who's been, never the same.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you hear about some guys. I won't name any names, but there's guys that I've fought that I've talked to after, and they're not in a great place, and and it's a scary thing, but. I mean, like I said, you take the good with the bad, as long as, and at least now guys are going in with their eyes. Like, I mean, there's a lot more research out there. There's a lot more, you know, we were, like you said, we were the pioneers. We were the trailblazers going into uncharted territory for the most part. There wasn't, you know, when we were first starting out, people are like, oh, you're going to get hit in the head for a living. You're going to be punch drunk. You're going to get Parkinson's disease like Muhammad Ali. It was like, well, nobody's ever really proven that he had Parkinson's disease because he fought.
Because of boxing.
Right? There's a lot of fighters that have never, I mean, until the end of his career, he never really even got hit. And then, you know, Michael J. Fox has Parkinson's disease. He's never been in a fight in his life, probably, right? Like, so who knows? And that was kind of, and I made those kind of excuses to myself. And you know, I think, but when the CTE thing started coming to light, that's when it becomes a lot more real. When there's documented proof that head injuries do permanent damage to you. And that was, you know, that was a big reason I got out when I did. If I could have kept walking through punches and not going down, I would have fought longer. I mean, I didn't watch the Will Smith movie and say, okay, that's it for me, right? But it gave me some awareness to the fact that, okay, this is a serious thing that can really, you know, can affect you and everyone around you, right?
You ever have symptoms of like aggression or impulsiveness?
Yeah, I get a little bit. I jump a little quicker to anger than I used to, and I mean, like I find.
Do you think it's just because people are shitbags and it pisses you off? like maybe it's not CT. Maybe just humans are just garbage.
Maybe I'm just getting older and crankier. Maybe it might be that. I know, but it puts that doubt in your head, right?
Yeah.
It gives you those worries about those kind of things. So, I mean, I hope that it's not what it is, but I'm not I wasn't going to keep fighting and take the risk of
and find out.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you've had a great career.
Yeah,
and you've set the bar for all Canadians. What advice would you give upcoming fighters now who are pursuing a professional mixed martial arts as a career or hobby, whichever?
I just say know what you're getting into, right? It's you know, I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't change anything in terms of like would I still do it, knowing what we all know about and I mean I feel like, you know, I feel like it may have affected me a little, but I'm still living a pretty good life. I get by day to day pretty good. I'm not, you know, I'm not drooling or slurring my words. I'm doing okay. So I would just say, I mean, if I could do things over again, I would just I mean, I would have liked to have a little more success. And I think there's some things I could have done to have a little more success.
Like what?
You know, just stay more consistent, do things like that. I would have saved a little more money in the early days and not, you know, I'd make a fight of the night bonus and just go and just start spending money until it was almost, you know, I'd have, I'd make 100, there was these fights where I made 100 grand and then next thing I know, I'd have $5,000 left in the bank account. And it was like, "Look, better get another fight again," instead of, and then I met some finance guys. They own a company called Navigator. They're good friends of mine, guys that I train at my gym now. And I wish I would have got with them earlier. I met with them actually before, like a few years earlier, and I was just kind of like, I didn't get it. I didn't get that, having somebody handle your I was like, what's in it for them? I was kind of like, so obviously if I'm giving you my money, you're getting a piece, but you don't realize like just putting it away, having it work for you, how important that is. So, I mean, all the up and coming guys, even guys that have been in it for a long time, like Ronson, him and I have already talked about like, okay, and I'm going to introduce you to my accountant. I'm going to introduce you to my finance guys. You don't have to go with them, but this is something. I mean, he just made, he got a performance of the night, a big 50K. Payday, and the US dollar is strong as hell right now. It's 34 cents on the dollar.
Yeah, it was like 50,000 US is like 67,000 Canadian.
Yeah, so he made over 100 grand.
He deserved
Canadian. No, of course he deserves it. He's been through, like he said in his interview, he's been to hell and back, trying to, he's basically, I mean, that was basically his third shot. He had the weight cut. He had the, 3 fights where I think he just didn't do what he was capable of. Like he just didn't. He was way better than what he showed in the ring. Right. I don't know what it was. If it was nerves, if it was or what. But he just wasn't pulling the trigger. And he lost 3 split decisions to 3 to a killer's row of 155ers. Trinaldo. Kevin Lee, and then who was the third? I can't remember the third guy, but like no easy fights. No. And then battles his way back, wins 2 titles outside of the UFC. It becomes double champ in TKO, gets a couple tough fights in PFL, and then gets. I mean, he had that UFC shot again where it was the short notice he couldn't make the weight, and then. And then he finally makes it back and finally fights and shows what he's really capable of. And that was the Jesse Ronson I've known for years in the gym. And it's like he finally went out and showed the rest of the world that. So I'm very
I think he just had enough. He was just like, fuck it. You know what? What do I have to lose now?
Exactly.
Go all out. Exactly. And it truly showed him. And he walked through a guy that was
coming off a big win.
Dropped
him with the left hand. Never, he was never in. He that fight was his.
I like him at 170.
I do too, but
I really do.
But but if the only problem is these guys at 170 are so big. They're so big.
That guy was much larger than him.
Like, I mean, if he gets up against there's just some big dudes at 170s, and he's big and he looks good at 170. But when he gets up against those really big guys, that's gonna be tough. I mean, and he can make the weight. He's just got to stay really, really diligent. I mean, he's like Chad. They were, just a little too big for, and Ronson's not the same. He's they're on that really big, tough, like weight cutting sucks to make 155. It's really, hard on them and hard on their bodies, but 170, they're just not quite big enough they just don't have the big enough frame as some of these guys. So I think 155, that's where he wants to go. I think that's, he'll, as long as the weight cuts aren't too much on him, I think he'll have more success there.
That's why they need a 165 division.
Yeah. I agree.
Would you have fought 65
No, I think I made weight pretty. I mean, I'd not
You're
easily.
Always jacked.
I just was able to cut the weight pretty, I mean, I'm 5'9". I was already fighting guys. I mean, I fought James Krause. He's like 6'2". He's, just dealing with that much reach, especially I don't know. I would have stayed at 155, I think. But it would have been nice to see some of those huge 155ers go up.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Get out of my weight class.
Yeah. Because that's the most competitive division, 55ers.
I mean, a lot of, you could argue that for sure.
Yeah. Like there's so many, and there's so many, the talent pool is so rich.
Yeah, and you know what it's like? It's a very good, rich talent pool, and there's so many guys that are so closely matched, right? Like you got, in most of the other weight classes, you got a few standouts. you know, but at 155, everyone's that good, right? Like everyone's just separated by a little bit. So that's it. It makes it an interesting division.
How are we doing for time here, bro?
It's been 50 minutes.
50 minutes. I know you got to get going, so I didn't want
to
to keep you too long, but maybe you come back.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah,
for sure.
It'd be cool. Just I know Sam's in. He's got his daughter tonight, so
Yeah,
I don't want to.
First time seeing her in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, so I don't want to hold you up too long, and I appreciate you coming and
it's my pleasure,
just to
man.
shoot the shit. Maybe come back again, and we can
for sure,
dive
for
right in and spend a couple hours.
Yeah,
have
now
a
that
couple
we
of
got my
drinks.
whole backstory covered, we can start talking about current events next time.
Yeah,
maybe.
fuck yeah. Okay, tell everybody where we can find you, bro.
You can if you want to follow me on social media, it's Sammy J Stout.
If you're not already following him already.
Yeah. Check out the website www.adrenalinemmma.ca to find out information on what we're doing at the gym. Yeah.
And you're at the
I'm
new
not
location
giving out my
now?
phone number, so those are the two ways.
Not anymore.
listeners can get
Not
on.
anymore.
I'm a
Just
married
kidding.
man now.
Yeah, but, so the gym is the new location, and you guys are up and running, full steam ahead.
Yeah, we're at 716 York Street.
I like that location too.
Yeah,
it's a great spot.
Man. Awesome. We got to build it and kind of do exactly what we
Yeah.
wanted. We bought the building, so we had been in rental spots for years where we just kind of had to work with what we had.
Yeah,
But this
the East
place, we
London
just
location.
gutted everything out. That place was cool. It was just so big, so hard to heat. Like there basically wasn't heat, so it just was. There's damp in the summer, mold. You get mold growing on your equipment. It was. The space was amazing. We had like 11,000 square feet, wide open space, but it was a shithole. Right?
Really? I
Like,
never would have thought
drafty
that.
in the winter.
Yeah.
Like it was freezing. You wouldn't want to be in there without, wrestling shoes on in the winter. It was just, and I hate training in wrestling shoes.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought that place was amazing. I just
Boiling
thought it
hot
was
in
just
the
too
summer,
big.
freezing cold. It was just, it was a great location, but it just didn't have.
And the downtown
It
one was
wasn't
good,
set
too.
up. It was set up as, it was a great grimy fighters gym, but it wasn't set up well for a commercial, for a business, what we're trying to do now.
Well, you guys come a long way from being in the
Hard Knocks there?
Yeah, under McCulloch's or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that. It was literally a hole in the wall, and you had a ring, and the matted area was probably no bigger than this room.
No, it was small.
Like it was small, and you guys were
tripping over each other. But that was really it's one of those things you got to work your way up. Bigger, had that tiny little space. That place was a shithole.
Yeah,
It was
yeah, but that's when you guys
It
were
was-
like that. You were all you guys were at your prime out of that little spot. Which,
that was also at the very beginning of the Vegas days. So that was where we'd kind of do our maintenance, upkeep, workouts in between camps, and then we'd head off to Vegas at that time. Yeah, and that was building our reputation as a business. But that wasn't a business. We just made enough money to pay the rent, keep the, and then. That was just giving us a place to work
the
out.
blood, sweat, and tears were earned there.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
dropped.
Oh, yeah. And then the next adrenaline was
Downtown?
No, the East End one that you talked about.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah.
And then we went to the Huron one, which is the first time we had a place that was like, okay, this place isn't ice. Ice buckets aren't, or the spit buckets aren't freezing in the winter. It's it was
The Huron, where was that?
Huron and Richmond and Huron there.
Oh,
The
it's
last
Huron.
one.
Gotcha.
That's
Oh,
the
okay.
last.
The old Good Life.
Horton, sorry. not
That's right. Okay, I was
Horton.
like, Huron.
Yeah,
Okay. So
Horton.
the old Good Life.
Yes.
That was a
it
good spot too.
It was a great spot. It just, the space wasn't laid out like with the basement with all these kind of
Yeah.
there was just too many corners. You need your gym to be an open space.
I think it was a shitty area. People get their cars broken into or no?
Yeah, I got our cars
that was a
broken
bad
into.
area.
Yeah, I got my car broken into once. We had a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
There was a while where we had that little tent city going on.
Really?
There's like a fence. There was a chain link fence across the street.
Yep.
And that blocked off the train tracks there. And there was a couple months where there was like homeless people and crackheads and junkies that were making tarp tents like off the fence.
Really?
And yeah, it was wild, man. You'd see, and it was like crackheads coming out of a clown car. Like have this little tent, and then like you'd watch, and there'd be like 15 crackheads that would come out of it. It was nuts. So so that area, we're still in East London, but that area is really getting cleaned up. We own the building. We have so many cops that train at our gym too that we're kind of, you know, we don't have to worry about it too much, and it's been great.
Right off a bus route, it's in a really good location.
Exactly.
I like the spot. I like the new spot.
I love it. I think we're here for the long run.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you know the I don't know. I think this is kind of going to be our permanent home. We have tenants in the upstairs, so we could we have room for growth within the same building, right? If it's feasible for us, if the numbers work out. I mean, that would be kind of my dream with that place, is turn the basement into a weights and strength and conditioning, cardio equipment, all that. Have the main floor be this all striking and kind of our and then upstairs just do a giant grappling room.
Yeah.
And a grappling room, just mat it wall to wall. Do most of the jiu-jitsu up there and kind of obviously wrestling, and you can always strike anywhere, right? So yeah. That's so cool. That's you know what I would hope to accomplish at one point, but for now, it makes sense to have renters, you know, having somebody else kind of cover some of the cover our net a little bit on the mortgage, right?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, it's pretty cool because like I used to live in Saskatchewan in Alberta. I spent a lot of time in BC, and every time I talk to people and I say from London, they always brought up adrenaline. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, one day, like I just love to be able to."
Come
there's all these gyms in Toronto.
I mean, we put the
but
place.
adrenaline's the spot, you know?
When you really think about it, it's pretty incredible what we've done out of this city. You know, we got me, Mark, Chris Clements, Jesse Ronson, Malcolm Gordon. You know, we put 6 guys in the UFC, and back in the day, Rob McDonald, another guy.
That was the firefighter or police officer, wasn't he?
Police officer, yeah.
He was on the Ultimate Fighter.
He had to give up his job as a cop for the Ultimate Fighter.
Did he really?
Yeah, they wouldn't give him a leave of absence for it. So he said,
"Wow,
chasing his dreams." Yeah,
fuck.
Yeah, it's wild, eh?
That is insane.
That was what it was back in the day. That was in 2006. MMA was still like the general population was still not on board. You had a growing fan base and you had, you know, hardcore fans, but, you know, the police force wasn't giving people leaves of absence for it.
You would think they would be supportive. Like, I've always would have thought that the police department would have been like, "Hey, this is really cool."
I mean, you know, now I'm sure they would.
Yeah.
But it was still a very taboo thing back in those early
human
days.
cockfighting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I still get that stigma now, even putting on shows.
Yeah, I mean, there's still some people that think that way. I mean, like, it's come a long way, but I think there always will be. Those same people probably don't like boxing either, right? So
that's insane. Cool. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, my man Sam Stout.
Good to be here, boys.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
you, man.
And we'll do it again for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Anytime.
We'll run it back.
Yeah.
Amazing.